everything that supports life is a gift of the soil. And because there's been a paradigm, a mode of thinking, a worldview that declared the earth as dead matter, the soil is inert, and assigned creativity to the destructive acts of putting poison into the soil, or chemicals like nitrogen fertilizers, spraying pesticides, spraying herbicides, the very basis of life and the life in the soil was being assaulted. And it's so clear that this cannot carry on. You cannot destroy soil fertility without creating food insecurity. You cannot mine every drop of water out of the soil in the earth without creating a very serious crisis of water. And in my lifetime, I have witnessed these crises grow. I have watched how a model of farming is at the heart of the death of the soil, and another model of farming which works with the earth, with the soil, and brings back life to the soil, is the solution not just for the ecological crisis and all aspects of the ecological crisis, whether it be climate change, biodiversity, water, but in my view is the only solution to the human crisis. Both the human crisis of a dead-end economy which has no place for future generations, and is basically saying the banks will make the profits, we don't care. Whether you have a job, we don't care. Whether you can pay your loans, we don't care. Now that kind of shutting the future is a civilizational suicide. So as the youth start to recognize that if they can be in the finance economy, beyond a point, it does not nourish your soul. Beyond a point, how much can you gamble with other people's money and walk away with 100,000 euro, dollars a month and feel happy about it? And in any case, for the majority of you, there is no place in that economy determined by finance and financial speculation, and having reduced the world to a casino. If you look at Southern Europe today, half of Southern Europe, the youth are unemployed by the finance economy, by the economy of money. But the earth and the soil is inviting every one of them to say, when that man-made patriarchal capitalist system shuts the doors on you, I will still welcome you with open arms. The soil can be the biggest employer. And an employer not in a negative way, as an employer of last resort, but a partner in creativity that brings the deepest meaning to life. And that shift then means the idea that it's all about playing computer games with fictitious money, 70 times more than the real goods available on the planet. Instead of going on with that illusion and having huge consequences for life on earth, that there is real work. The real work that gives another role for these beautiful hands than clicking on a computer. Working with the soil is much nicer for all the nerves and muscles. They'll say, thank you, you're not giving me carpal tunnel syndrome. And more than that, the whole being, our whole being, becoming one with the soil. To me, there's nothing more liberating, nothing more meaningful, nothing more creative. And that's what the young people are discovering. And that's how the young people will show another way. Not from becoming as big as these giant banks, or the G8 that supports the banks at the cost of the future, but beginning and learning from the small, that the soil organisms are so small you can't even see them, yet they are the very basis of life. So smallness, in fact, is not a problem. Smallness is the beginning of a solution. Everyone has to eat to live. And eating basically is a connection with the soil. It can either be a very toxic connection, but if it's a toxic connection, then we make our bodies toxic too and we invite disease. If it's a distant connection and we don't know what we are eating, whether it's GMOs or pesticide-loaded food, then we don't know who we are because we are what we eat. Either way, we are in deep crisis. And that is why we are at a moment where every time we eat, every eater, every consumer has to be deeply aware of how that food was grown, where it came from, who grew it. And that means an intimate connection both with the soil and soil stewards. Because of the inequalities in society, it so happens that those who live in cities have more money than those who work the land. And it so happens that that money can now be used to shift trends. And eaters and consumers have a huge responsibility to be able to reach out and tell the farmer, I will work with you to make sure that the living soil has more vibrant life and is more fertile, and to tell the soil that gives them food, I too am here as a steward, not just as a consumer predating and destroying the soil. So we need a shift in consciousness from consumerism, the idea of consuming, which used to be a word used for TB in the Middle Ages, it's an ugly word, to basically being a member of the soil family and the soil community and the earth family. And that's why I repeatedly talk about earth democracy, that at the end of the day, we have to practice earth democracy in every moment of our lives. I think the most significant way in which a shift of power towards the soil and towards those who take care of the soil can be made is, first of all, by those who are part of the privileged classes breaking the ranks of this hierarchy and verticality and saying, I abandon this injustice and I will be with you. Which is why the potential of young people moving to farming is a very, very powerful shift because it changes that equation. But the second very important part of it is, as we realize how vital soil is to survival, as we realize how much living soil contributes, as we realize how fictitious the economy that is privileged, doing nothing, while punishing those who work hard with the land. That as all of those, all of that consciousness grows, I think the concrete actions in shaping another economy that is a soil economy, not a finance economy, not an oil economy, combining with new thinking in a paradigm shift will start making that bigger shift that we are looking for. I work with the Bhutan government, which has committed itself to being 100% organic. But more important than that, Bhutan had said, we're not going to look at gross domestic product because it doesn't measure anything meaningful. We're going to look at gross national happiness and well-being of our people. And now the United Nations is working on this, and the King of Bhutan has set up a 60-member expert group, and I'm one of the members, and we're drafting a report for the United Nations, which will be submitted next year, on another paradigm of development. And I think the soil is at the heart of For young people, there's no place that's too small to begin. A little pot like that could be the first garden. Community, places like this, which have offered themselves to say, try a different way, and I am here with my generosity to let you undertake that experiment to redefine the human endeavor. And that redefining the human endeavor is a redefining of our relationship with the soil. And I think there is no place where the movement for the living soil cannot be built. I'm among those who realizes that single issue movements are over now. We can't work in silos. The silos stand like this and break us from each other and from the soil. We need to turn these silos into bridges, looking more at what is common and connects us than that which divides us. Because silos mean competition. If I'm a whale lover, then I will fight anyone else who doesn't save the whales. And that's the only thing that should be done. There's an exclusiveness about it. Whereas when we have bridges, then we realize that soil and the whale are all connected. That we are in an interconnected world. And because the world is interconnected, because the world is a web of life, it doesn't matter where in the web you start or fit. You are connected. And it's those connections that are the most important thing to be aware about. And as we become more aware of the connections, with it finding the place where our passions and our minds and our hearts allow us to contribute the best.